Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you enjoyed that performance of Bitsch's third Etude. For those of you that aren't familiar with this series, the goal for me is to challenge myself and to push my limits to play repertoire that is quite difficult for me to play. And as a result, I really try to present something that I feel is very representative of my playing right now at this time. Another goal of mine is through the process of challenging myself, I hope to be able to make these videos on breaking down the process of how I work on these things to be able to provide you with tips and tutorials and tricks and things like that to help you tackle some of the difficult repertoire you're working on or difficult etudes, things of that nature. Many of you know that I practice these etudes in a 2-week program that I've written for myself, and what I wanted to talk about in this video was the value of actually repeating that cycle for myself and how I use the repetition of the cycle to teach myself what I need to know about how to push my limits. I'm going to use some sections from the Etude to kind of demonstrate what I mean by this so you can see how I use the process of repeating them to be able to learn more and more about how to present a more and more consistent musical product. Let's get into it. Like I said, many of you know that I'm a big fan of writing programs and structuring my routines in a way that really helps me make my practice more efficient, more effective, more enjoyable, things like that. But this actually hasn't always been the case. In the past, when I would learn something new, I'd oftentimes just dive right in, play it at tempo, make a lot of mistakes, make some notes, see what was there, and then I might start practicing slowly. I would think that just practicing slowly was enough, so I wouldn't really give much thought to how the slow practice is going to affect the at-tempo sort of performance or the final refined product. Because of this, I sometimes would get to the end of the process and feel like what I did slowly didn't really help me do what I wanted to do musically in the end. I would have a good product, but it may not sound musical or it may not be stylistically appropriate, and I would be kind of confused. Well, through repeating these cycles, I've actually sort of found a way to deal with that, where we put our best foot forward in the first cycle, and then we ask ourselves, what would we like to be different? And then we just repeat the cycle, trying to incorporate some of those things that we wish would have been better. When I first approached Bitsch number 3, I started by playing very slowly and very long, very legato, very connected. Those of you who have seen my Magic 3 video on Bitsch number 1 will know that I did this in an effort to try to make sure my air was the thing guiding everything. So when I played slowly, it sounded kind of like this. Once I had that approach, that motor pattern established, my goal was just to keep that as I increased the tempo, slowly but surely, a little bit faster, until I got closer to or at tempo, and it would sound something like this. So after this 2-week process of working on this etude, I heard myself play and thought, that sounds good, but it doesn't sound like French modern music. It needs to be shorter, it needs to be a little bit more articulate, and I couldn't just make that change. I could try to do it, but I didn't feel like it would be consistent in its production. So what I did was I asked myself, what would I do differently if I could do the process again? The answer was I would probably play much more articulate, and I would try to keep things a little bit more separate to be more stylistically appropriate. And then I hoped that as if I built this up slowly but surely, but kept that style, when I got to tempo, it would be much closer to, if not actually stylistically appropriate, after that run. And so that's what I did. I reworked the program, and when I played slow the second time around, it sounded like this. So as you can hear, the slow tempo work on that is more articulate and it's more separated. So I did my best to keep that as I progressed in tempo, and when I got to the fast tempo, the at tempo type work, it sounded like this. For me, learning this lesson is incredibly invaluable because not only did I eventually ingrain more what I wanted in terms of style and musical content, but I learned this lesson forever. So next time I play something like Bitsch number 3 or any sort of technical thing like that, I'm gonna know to approach the slow tempo stuff that way right from the beginning, which effectively will speed up my learning process from now on. The reason I believe that repeating these cycles was valuable for me and hopefully for you is that we can put our best foot forward and really try to do the best with what we know now. We don't necessarily know everything, but we can find out how far we can get with what we know, and then we can ask ourselves, now that we've gotten as far as we can get now, how would we add more value? And then start adding more value the next time around. Effectively, I found I'm able to teach myself through this process to say, here's my best, how would I improve, and let's just keep doing that. As long as I constantly ask myself these questions over the long term, I'm gonna keep improving. All right, everybody, that's going to be all for this video. If you enjoyed the etude or you learned something from the tips or anything like that, I would appreciate it if you would hit the like button down below and make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this or you want to join a community of people who want to be the best players, musicians, and people that they can be. If you want to dive deeper about cycling etudes or you want to see how I approach them in general, I'm going to leave a link down below where you can sign up for a free 30-minute call where we can talk about this. You can ask about becoming a client to learn my practice methodology in general or anything else that you want to talk about. Thanks so much for watching the video. Always remember, stay strong, be kind to yourself, never stop growing, and we'll see you in the next video.